Alanis Morissette is here. She has had, to say the least, an interesting life marked by change, a quest for perfection, and huge success. Born in Ottawa in 1974, her parents were school teachers. She was by 3 a performer, by 10 a child television star, and at 17 she had made 2 albums, one of which won the Juno for Most Promising Female Vocalist in 1992. In 1994, wanting something more and something different, she goes to Los Angeles. Then, at only 19, she recorded the album Jagged Little Pill. It sold 28 million copies worldwide, the biggest debut album ever and the best-selling album ever recorded by a female singer. It won her 4 Grammys, including Album of the Year and Best Rock Song. It earned her a reputation as the angry young woman of music. You couldn't be higher than she was, except inside her own psyche. She does something very different, something she calls the goddess trip. She takes off for 18 months traveling to India and other places, finding herself in herself and less driven by being Miss Perfect, and she comes back different. Someone said she was transformed from an angry young woman to a nouveau spiritualist. The next album, Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie, by design, is different. It sold 7 million copies and gives her a different connection with her audience. Journal entries from her trip became lyrics for her songs, different songs. The sexy anger is replaced by healing and reconciliation, chronicling her search for inner peace. It comes out too late for the Grammys, but she wins 2 more Grammys for Uninvited, her song from the soundtrack for City of Angels, Best Female Rock Performance, and Best Rock Song. Listen to her music, and you hear the evolution of an artist.
Okay, Paul, is Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie a better album than Jagged Little Pill?
No.
Okay. We'll come back to that later.
Coming to you from Edinburgh, the birthplace of Harry Potter, Sir Shelf Connery, Penicillin, The Telephone, Robert Louis Stevenson, and the Bay City Rollers. It's Trilling Musical Fat, and here's your hosts, Stephen and Paul Nicholson.
So welcome to Trimming the Musical Fat, the podcast where we trim albums that are too damn long. I'm Stephen Nicholson.
Paul Nicholson.
And thank you for joining us as we take our invisible scissors to Alanis Morissette's follow-up to her mega-selling 1995 release Jagged Little Pill, and it's 1998's Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie, which is really easy to say. So what's going to make the under 50-minute single vinyl TTMF Supercut of the album? Thank you, joining you. I Would Be Good, Heart of the House. Keep listening to find out. And we'll also find time to do regular features like Joke of the Pod, Tale of the Tape, Critical Reception, Trim the Talk, archive interview clips, and the final questions.
Morissette, Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie, the new album, in stores November 3rd.
This is Caroline.
And this is Marisa.
We're the Eves, and you're listening to Trimming the Musical Fat.
So we're not going to be infatuated with the album alone. Paul and I are delighted to welcome back to Trimming the Musical Fat Caroline Gilmour of the Eves. So welcome, Caroline. How are you?
Good to have you on.
Hi guys, I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Very, very welcome. So what's been happening with the Eves since we last spoke?
Oh goodness, when did we last speak? Was it 2 years ago?
It would have been about that, would you believe? Yeah.
2 years ago.
Madonna's Ray of Light. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot's gone on since then. Probably more so live shows than anything else. Obviously, I think when I spoke to you guys last, we were just out of lockdowns. We were just getting back to normalities. At that point, had we had our song on BBC Radio 2? Can't remember when we last spoke, but our single.
Yes.
Brand New Day was on Radio 2 for a wee while. So then
Yes.
after that followed, was the live shows. So actually getting back out there to perform up and down the UK. So yeah, we've been on quite a lot of tours. We've been on tour with Horse McDonald, Skerryvore. We've opened for Belinda Carlisle, Sister Sledge. Yeah, it's been a bit mental. Done a few festivals as well, and put out a few more singles since then, I think. Yeah, so we've been very busy.
Yeah, sounds like it. I think you played Perth at the weekend, was that right?
Perth Concert Hall, yeah, we were there opening for Skerryvore. So that was really, really nice to get back out there. That was our first gig after Celtic Connections this year. So it was a bit of blowing the dust off the guitar, remembering what to do, how do these songs go again, because we've been in the studio writing new material just now. So yeah, it was good to get back out there and play again.
So what's the intention for the recorded material? Is that going to be further singles, an album, EP? What's the plan?
I think, well, hopefully, we're kind of chatting about it at the moment. I think it's going to be an EP, so maybe 4 or 5 track EP. So we're just doing final finishing touches and mixes, and then get the mastering done of these tracks, and maybe hopefully put the first one out, the first song from the EP in the summer, and then see if we can put out a couple more throughout the rest of the year.
Awesome. You need help with any backing vocals on any of the tracks?
I think I'm fine with Mary Sad Eyes. We've got about, honestly, every session in the studio with the Eves ends up being that the producer runs out of channels for the amount of harmonies and vocals that are going on. So as much as I'd love you on there, boys, there ain't no room just now.
Well, we'll just sing along at home. It's fine. So it's okay.
Do you remember the London Boys in the 80s doing big
Yes, I
backflips? That we can do that behind you. We can do all that. The Edinburgh Boys.
I'll bring them lights.
Oh yeah. yeah. Edinburgh Nights. That's it. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, and just do good dancing in the background of the next video. It'd be very special.
Yeah.
Maybe not in a good way, but
Bez maybe. Yeah.
I can do that. I'm very good at that. Yeah, the Bez dancing. So if you need that, you know which number to call. So we're talking Alanis Morissette today, Caroline. What's your level of fandom with Alanis?
Oh, pretty big. I mean, it was massive in the 90s into early 2000, probably up to mid 2000. And then obviously she went off for a wee bit and found happiness, and she's had babies and stuff. So all the anger's kind of dissipated from the kind of later albums. But no, I loved probably our first maybe 4 or 5 albums. Big fan. Yeah.
And do you remember the first Alanis CD or record that you ever bought?
It was the single for You Ought to Know.
Right.
The CD single.
Oh. So you were there at the beginning?
I was there at the beginning, yeah, the very, very beginning. I was a teenager and finding my way, so her lyrics really spoke to me, yeah. Yeah,
great song. Same to you, Paul. You weren't a teenage girl, but do you remember the first Alanis Morissette thing that you bought?
I don't actually think I've bought anything, to be honest.
Really?
Alanis Morissette. Because you had the pill. So we just used to hear it. Even when we were in the bathroom, we could hear it from your room. 90s. So yeah, I think it's one of these things as you get older, you appreciate it more. And when it was, I think it was maybe the 25th anniversary. Is that right? 25th? Well, the 20th, I think. 2015, getting that out and listening to it again, I think it was really good.
Yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, she first came to my notice with the Jagged Little Pill album, and I think that the first thing I ever bought was that album. I think the first CD single of hers I bought was Thank You. And yeah, I'm maybe a little bit similar to you, Caroline, in terms of my fandom. I kind of know most of her stuff from the mid-90s, maybe to the end of the 90s, and some of the stuff from 2000 to 2005, and maybe less so from there on in. So yeah, she has very much a unique voice in terms of her songwriting and certainly her vocal stylings. When she sings, you do know it's Alanis Morissette, that's for sure.
This is Eric Paul Johnson from Face the Music, an Electric Light Orchestra song-by-song podcast. And you're listening to Trimming the Musical Fat. Oh dear. That wasn't my fat I trimmed.
It's the tale of the tape. So Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie is the fourth studio album and second internationally released album by singer-songwriter Alanis Morissette, and it was released by Maverick Records in the United States on November the 3rd, 1998. The album was positively received by critics and performed well commercially, breaking the record for album sales in its first week by a female artist. So the first single from the album, Thank You, reached the top 20 in the US Billboard Hot 100, and Morissette promoted the album with a worldwide tour. And the album gets its name from a lyric in the track So Pure. So there are 17 tracks on the album and its duration is 72 minutes, which means we need to lose at least 22 minutes today. So there were 5 singles released from the album, and they were Thank You, released on October the 12th, 1998, Joining You, released in January 1999, So Pure, released in March 1999, Unsent, released on March 18th, 1999, and the final one was That I Would Be Good, released in December 1999, and that was the unplugged version of that song, which we'll talk about later on because I think it's fabulous.
Sometime, and I understand that as I do you, the long distance thing was the hardest, and we did as well as we could. You've already won me over in spite of me, and don't be alarmed if I fall head over feet, 'cause I've got one hand in my pocket and the other one is giving up peace sign. You bleed, you learn, you scream, you learn. They'll throw opinions like rocks in riots, and they'll stumble around like hypocrites. Is it just me or is it dark in here? It's a funny, funny way of helping you out, helping you out.
Paul, so what was the critical reception to the album?
So when the album came out, it was acclaimed by music critics. Stephen Thomas Erlewine Music called it a clear step forward and concluded that Morissette is a weird acquired taste due to her idiosyncratic vocals and doggedly convoluted confessionals. But the album certainly confirms that she doesn't quite sound like anyone else either. The Village Voice's Robert Christgau commented that he felt privileged to listen along with the young woman whose struggles Morissette blows up to such a scale. Entertainment Weekly music critic David Brown was much harsher. Brown wrote, talking about the 1990s, musically speaking, easy targets abandoned. Does anyone beyond family remember Hammer's Gangster makeover of Vanilla Ice's live album? At least we could laugh at those, whereas the decade's foremost clunker, Alanis Morissette's Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie, was corporate grunge and victim culture whining incarnate. Quite, he's quite complimentary there, isn't he?
That's horrendous.
No.
That's horrendous. No, absolutely no.
So I'm going to guess today we're going to disagree with that. Yes.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Victim culture whining incarnate. Ouch. You look like you want to say something about that, Caroline. Go for it.
I do. Well,
Mm-hmm.
if I can touch on what I felt about this album, right? So obviously, Jagged Little Pill blew everyone away, right? It's like, it's one of the biggest selling albums ever. And it was a big deal. So, and Supposed Former, I view this album as really her second album, right? Because I know it said fourth there on the info, but really she had 2 albums out before Jagged Little Pill, and they were quite poppy commercial ones, and I still haven't heard them to this day because I'm a bit scared that I'm going to cry. And I don't want it to change the whole image of what she is now, but we all start from somewhere. So this was really the dreaded second album situation, right? That the acts have got quite a lot to follow. And I can just remember that anticipation of this album coming out back in those days where, like, there was no streaming, right? So the only way you could hear this was the physical release that was coming out, the songs on the radio to tease people. And I just remember the excitement of going to get the CD, because I think Thank You was the first one that came out, you said, wasn't it? The first single, and I loved it. And I remember the video because she was naked in it, and it caused a big stooshy. But it was just getting that album home, and this whole chat about the reviews there and this. What was it? Victim? What did he say?
Victim culture whining incarnate.
Right. So would they say that about Taylor Swift now? Right.
Well,
so Taylor Swift's new album that's just come out, right? I very much feel the way that she's tackled her new album, you could apply to Supposed Former. It's about poetry. It's about the lyrics. The music's there, but it's about just that experience of getting all your emotions out through song. And so this album, like Taylor's, probably less radio friendly, but there was obviously an artistic expression that was going on throughout this. And there are little hints of that Jagged Little Pill sound. And there are also hints of the album that came after it, which I think was Under Rug Swept.
Yep.
So you can hear bits of that throughout it, but this album is very much a very dark, heavy sound.
I mean, one of the things we'll talk about later on is it's the drop in sales for this album compared to Jagged Little Pill, and perhaps the reasons for that. But one of them, which you've just brought up, is obviously it is a darker album, and a lot of the subjects. Because again, purely just to refresh myself, I listened to both albums. And when you do listen to Jagged Little Pill, it is more commercial and there's more lighter songs on it. This is very much a more serious album, and that surely must account for some of the appealing less to the public. But I will say that what the comment made there, and I think what you've said about Taylor Swift is spot on. It's a really good parable to make. But would this gentleman who made that comment, would he have said the same about a male artist? And just to pick one up who was coming to prominence around that time, Eminem, rapper, different musical genre. What is Eminem rapping about?
Yeah.
You know, about his hardships and struggles and calling out people. What's the difference?
Yeah, 100%. It's very easy to be a critic, and it's very difficult to be an artist, is all I would say, because you've really got to stick your neck out and do something that you believe in. And whether other people like it or not, that's up to them. You can't control that. So once you've released that, whatever happens, you have no control over, and everyone's entitled to an opinion. And that's where you have to take it with a pinch of salt, right? So, yeah.
So I was just going to ask, how do you deal with critics? Reviewing your concert, your music.
Yeah. Actually, it's quite interesting because generally speaking, we've had really, really positive reviews. There was one review that wasn't very positive, and it was when we opened for Horse at the Queen's Hall. And I remember the viewer, it was basically insinuating that we had a lot to learn from Horse in terms of our songwriting and blah, blah, blah. That's absolutely fine because Horse is a fantastic songsmith. I get that. But you're comparing apples and pears, right? So we're a pop act and anthemic pop music. Horse doesn't do that, right? So the reviewer was trying to compare apples and pears and wasn't very favourable about us and our songs. But then throughout the article, they put songs in that we didn't even perform at that gig.
Just lazy.
Which made me think, did they actually see us? Or did they just listen to the music on Spotify before they came, as opposed to really seeing us? Because they would have known that we didn't play that song live. So why have they referred to it? So at that point, I just kind of shrugged it off and I laughed and I just thought, I actually don't care. Because the people that were there loved it. They loved the gig. The response we got after it was absolutely phenomenal. Horse has been lovely and kind on all the gigs to us. So that's all I cared about, was were we there to warm up the crowd and did we do our job? Yes, we did. And people buy our music and they like it. So that's good enough for me, not some reviewer who's coming up basically writing, I don't know if it was a fake review or not, but it didn't feel like they were there. So
yeah.
I think the other thing with reviews is now, I'll take two of the most beloved pop acts or rock acts of all time are ABBA and Queen. The critics hated those groups. It's like revisionist history, but I remember reviews when those they were releasing albums and such like, and ABBA were seen as cheesy, lightweight pop. Queen were seen as all, I don't even know how to describe it, but they weren't viewed well by critics, and it's as time's gone on, and the public still love the songs, and now it's really after these bands have gone, if you like, then the critics have got on board, and actually they're really good, aren't they?
Yeah. It's a bit like Coldplay now as well, isn't it? It's a bit like Coldplay, who, at the very beginning with their first couple of albums, you had like the Parachutes album and Yellow, and it was definitely more indie. And then they've kind of evolved into this like huge super group, this pop indie rock dance hybrid act, and they're absolutely phenomenal. I've seen them live. I love a lot of what Coldplay does, and they seem to be completely vilified in the press half the time for what they do. A wee bit like U2 as well. And I just think, if you have to understand the artistry of what it takes to write an anthemic pop tune, it's not easy. A song that everyone likes, that can sing along to, that remembers the words, that knows all the wee hook lines and all the melodies of all the instruments and dances to that is not easy to do. In some ways it's easier to write a monologue with really weird, obscure music because it's art, because you can do what you want.
That's right.
Do you not think there's something about timing as well when it comes to things in life? Like, there might be a period where that person's flavour of the month, but then, so I don't know for Alanis Morissette, because that album was like one of the best-selling albums of all time, it's like the next album, we're going to bring her back down a peg or two now. Do you know, it's like people get jealous when people are successful. And I wonder if there was a bit of that as well, because it maybe wasn't as commercial. It's like, actually, we're going to have a go at her because they did the same with the Beatles as well, even, so it's, and then it comes round in cycles and things get reevaluated years later.
Yeah, I think everyone gets their 15 minutes, right? So every artist gets their big album and then never to be repeated. With the exception of Taylor Swift, who's doing super well. Everything she puts out, everyone loves because she's got such a massive fan base. But that's for another show. So.
Well, I would really need to push Paul into a Taylor Swift episode, wouldn't I?
Is he not up for it?
I don't know anything about Taylor Swift. If it past the year 2000, I've not got a clue about music. Past the millennium, it's too young for me.
Well, come round, Paul. I'll play you some.
Is that the album Red?
You'll need to convert me to be a Swiftie.
Yeah. It was actually no word of lie. I think it was last year, Caroline, and I was of all the exciting things I was going to repaint my decking, and I thought, right, I want to listen to something I've not listened to before, and it was Todd Forney, who used to work at State Street, so I'm still in touch with Todd, and I'm like, Todd, I don't know, he's a Swiftie. I went, Todd, what album should I start off with? He's like, well, okay, maybe 1989 or Folklore or Red. I went, right, I'll give Red a go. Not actually expecting to like it at all. And guess what? I put Red on and I thought, this is actually pretty damn good. And then I went on to 1989, which was great. So I inadvertently became a Swiftie, not expecting to at all. And my sons, Luke and Ben, find it incredibly embarrassing.
So does your brother.
Ouch. Ouch. The thing is, I've not got around to listening to her new album yet. I know it's a double. So, I mean, if there's something that's maybe requiring a bit of trimming, surely a double album, but who knows?
There's a lot to unpack on that, and I have to confess I switched it off after about the first 6 or 7 songs. So, but I want to go back and give it a go, and I want to like it, but right now I don't.
Yeah.
But that is, it's just my opinion. There's a lot of people who do like it, so it's just not radio friendly enough for me.
And sometimes it takes time, doesn't it? I know we've all experienced albums where you think, I'm not too keen on that. You leave it 6 weeks and you go back to it and it clicks and you think, this is actually pretty good.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. And also, it's about where you're at as well.
Right.
At that point in time and listening to the album. I would like to have time to listen to it in its entirety with my headphones on and no interruptions. And that doesn't happen often these days. So I'll give it a go. I want to give her a chance because she's just so iconic. So I want to give it another go.
Have you got tickets to her show in Edinburgh that's coming up?
I do, yes. Yes, I'm a big Swiftie too. So, yeah.
Well, you can, next time we speak, you can tell me how good it was.
You should get yourself on the support act.
You didn't get the tickets.
Get the Eves on as support act.
Now, wouldn't that be something?
If only, jump at the chance.
Wouldn't that be good?
Amazing.
Well, we know Taylor has had... you never know. Yeah, but we know Taylor's album has sold in considerable numbers. It was released last week. Paul, let's talk about Alanis's sales for Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie.
Yes, so this album sold 7.5 million copies, which it was a tall order to try and replicate its predecessor sales. So it was 78% decrease on the sales of Jagged Little Pill. And the album got to number 3 in the UK and number 1 in the US. It went platinum in the UK and it went 3 times platinum in the US.
So you decide to take a trip.
Yeah.
You want to take 18 months off.
Yeah.
Were you scared about that? I mean, I may come back here and nobody will care.
I was
They'll have
petrified.
forgotten about me.
Yeah.
I've got one album out there, folks. I mean, may have sold $28 million albums, but if I go away, they may forget about me.
I wasn't really worried about that. I think I was more worried about dying because all I had ever known in my life was productivity, achievement. Grasping, running, searching, finding, seeking, all of these things. That was what my life was about. And so to have sought and to have found that the ultimate was not the ultimate, whether it be fame or financial status that was different, or praise or whatever it was. When I realized that was an illusion and that was what a lot of my life had been based on, that was what was scary. And stopping. I had been used to kinetic energy and stimuli so much that the concept of stopping in silence, for that matter, was terrifying to me, and I felt like I died.
Hello listeners, this is David from In the Lap of the Pods Queen podcast, and you are listening to another episode of Trimming the Musical Fat. Slanjava.
So the top 5 selling Alanis albums were at number 5, Flavours of Entanglement, which sold 650,000. At number 4, So-Called Chaos, 1.5 million. At number 3 was Under Rug Swept, 3.2 million. And number 2 was this album, Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie, of 7.4 million. And the big one, Jagged Little Pill from 1995, sold 33.5 million copies sold.
Not bad.
33.5 million.
Do you know, I would even take the 650,000 at this point, you know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, in today's streaming world, yeah.
Nothing less than 3.
It's time for us to get off the couch as we trim the talk, the feature where we are all asked the same questions and have to answer them all in under 3 minutes. So, is everyone ready with their quick answers?
This will be a laugh, yeah. Try.
Okay, let's do it. So, we'll do it in alphabetical order. So, Caroline, Paul, then me. So, Caroline, describe Alanis Morissette in 3 words.
Iconic, angry, force.
Okay. Paul?
Strong, angry woman. Strong, angry woman.
Okay. Cookie Canadian songstress. Have you seen Alanis Morissette live?
Yes.
Oh, we'll come back to that, Paul.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Neither have I, and again, I'll maybe come back to that because I should have. Your favourite Alanis Morissette album?
Jagged Little Pill.
Same for me.
Same for me. Your favourite Alanis Morissette song?
Oh, favourite song? It might be Thank You.
Ooh,
I think it's Thank You.
Right.
Could be.
Okay, good choice.
Mine actually changed after listening to this album. I like Heart of the House on this album.
Good choice. Well, I changed my mind on this morning as well, and I actually settled on 8 Easy Steps from 2004's So-Called Chaos. Brilliant song.
Mm-hmm.
Love that song.
Mm-hmm.
And what were you doing at the time of the album's release in November 1998?
So I was in my second year at uni.
Oh, okay.
I was in my second year working at Queen Margaret College.
Well, I was working at HBOS, and I think at that time I was involved in a works-related charity thing, so I was helping plan and kind of host lots of different events. That album just reminds me of that time. When and where did you first hear the album?
So I think I went out and bought this CD, and I would have gone home. I was still living at home with my parents, so I would have put it on in my bedroom with my headphones on and listened to it probably about 17,000 times. Yeah.
Awesome.
In the last week.
long time fan.
Yeah. I went and bought it straight away this week.
Well, I'm similar to you, Caroline. I would have bought it the week it came out. I think probably lunch break at work, went along, bought the CD, and probably popped it in the car CD player going home. Yeah. Your favourite track from the album?
Oh, no. So there is a song called The Couch, which I love.
Okay.
I was obsessed with it. Yeah.
Couch, okay.
Following on from the theme about houses and couches, I'm going for Heart of the House.
Mine's would be That I Would Be Good.
Overtime.
Song like least from the album.
It might be the last track, or it might be Baba. I don't.
Yeah, I think the final song's
Maybe
Your Congratulations. Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah.
That's mine too. Yeah. What about you, Paul?
Yeah.
And mine as well.
Okay. Your album rating out of 5.
Well, I'd still give it a 5 out of 5,
Okay.
just because it's brilliant. Yeah.
Paul, the newbie listener.
2.5 or 3. But it's early days. It's early days. That can change.
Okay. I would go 4.5. I've always been a big fan of it. I just always thought it was a wee bit overlong. But yeah, maybe 4.5, maybe. I do think it's great. Game over. Okay, well, thank you very much for that. So I think we need to come back to you straight away, Caroline. So have you just seen Alanis live once or twice?
Oh no, I think I've seen her maybe 3 or 4 times now.
Awesome.
I've seen her in Glasgow, Manchester, Paris, and London.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
What was the best of the 4 shows?
Oh, probably the first time I went to see her in Glasgow. I think that was a big moment. Yeah, just to see her on stage. Yeah, definitely.
Was that on the Jagged Little Pill tour?
No, it wasn't. It was actually, I think Glasgow was 2008.
Ah, right, okay.
So what was going on back then? So
Trying to remember the name of the album.
it wouldn't have been Flavours of Entanglement, wouldn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was the album that came out that year.
Did you get along to the 25th anniversary shows for Jagged Little Pill?
I don't think I did. No, I didn't. I didn't get along to them. No, sadly.
Yeah, I think friend of the show, Davey Mellon, he got along to Glasgow to see her. Said it was fantastic, and I can't for the life of me think why I did not go. Like one of those mistakes that you make in life, and there was one of them. Should have went.
Hey, this is Marv from Pods Like Us, the show where we help you to find your next podcast addiction. And you're listening to Trimming the Musical Fat.
So let's talk about the album itself. So we've kind of done a little bit of talking already about kind of, Caroline, what it means to you. But how do you think it stacks up compared to Jagged Little Pill, and what are the things you really like about the record?
So I think for me it was kind of the evolution of really her life and her songwriting after Jagged Little Pill. So obviously she'd hit and she'd reached all the smash hits of Jagged Little Pill. Every song was so memorable and so infectious and hooky, but not in a cheesy way, in a cheesy pop way. It was just such a cool album. And I think if she'd come back and done another album that was more of the same, it wouldn't be as exciting. I think that she had to take it down a different route. And for me, it feels like the kind of, this album's like the dark kind of cousin or the like step sibling that you've got. It's like she's really put a lot of herself into the songs in terms of lyrics. It was very lyric heavy, probably more poetry, but dotted throughout the album are radio friendly, sing along, melodic hits. So things like, I think Thank You was the perfect single to put out first, right? It was just such a lovely radio friendly song. I noticed the other singles that she put out, there was a song called Joining You, which I loved for it being a proper sing-along girl and guitar track. And then you hit the darker things, like I had touched on before, The Couch, which I had never heard a song anything like that in my life up until that point. I was like, where is this going? And you just get pulled into the story. What is she singing about? That, like, the music is in the background. Very much it isn't about the music, but it's so subtle that the music builds up with the song as you're becoming slightly clearer on what she's singing about, and you feel the energy. I think her music, she puts a lot into a feeling, evoking feelings, dark feelings, uncomfortable subject matter, uncomfortable feelings that makes you feel stuff, and then it'll go back into like something like Unsent, which is a little bit more like Jagged Little Pill, back on acoustic guitar, nice little plink plonk. This is nice, gentle. So I think it dances back and forward from that Jagged Little Pill to something a lot darker, to giving you hints of the third album, Under Rug Swept, and what's going to come next. I think it's got those threads, and the thread that is across it all is the lyrics, the stories. All her songs tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even have to make sense to the person listening to it, because it obviously makes sense to her. And you can come up with your own interpretation of what it means and who she's singing about and what she's talking about.
I think the thing that came across to me re-listening to it is the brutal honesty of her lyrics. And I think, oh, dare I say it, isn't it ironic that the Amy Winehouse movie just came out, who was another, obviously, big selling female star who was, again, brutally honest with their lyrics and had a distinctive voice. So I think you can see kind of links between the two there. So for me, I remember getting this and just seeing it as an evolution from the previous album, and it was darker, it was longer, maybe a little bit less focused than the previous album there, which maybe made it a harder listen than Jagged Little Pill. But I mean, like, musically and lyrically, a very, very entertaining and interesting album there for me. So, Paul, you're kind of new to the album. You're listening to it really with 2024 ears. How does it sound to you?
So some of the lyrics, I could be wrong, but are they about like domestic abuse?
I think so, yeah.
That really stuck out, honestly, and very brave of her as well, because she'll probably speak up for a lot of people that maybe don't talk about these things, that keep it in, that she's able to talk about it. But also still have that fun side of her as well, because one of the things I found maybe sometimes it wasn't as much, but just sometimes when she was angry all the time, I was like, oh, not another one. Some of the songs were, but I like having that mixture, and that's why, like say, Heart of the House, I just thought it was a really nice song. It can, like a late Beatles, Paul McCartney song, or even a James Bond theme. I could hear bits of that in that song, and it's just a different style of hers that I'd never heard, and it's really good. But I do think on this album, although she'd had two previous albums prior to Jagged Little, as Caroline was saying, this is a different. It's like Nirvana after Nevermind. Where do you go after that? You know, it's like it's almost impossible to compete with that. So I think she did have to do things differently. She couldn't do it the same. But I also think, even though it's only 3 years between the albums, that's a long time. At that time, that was quite a long time.
The first album that sold 28 million had been fueled by a lot of radio play for lots of those songs, and people would hear them and want to go out and buy the album, right? For a whole series of those songs. And the same radio people are saying, hello, this is not the Alanis we knew, right?
Yeah, and some people were thrilled that there was evolution that was obvious, and others, I'm sure, weren't.
Yeah.
And
you said, I got to be me.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's what you said, yes.
Yeah. I mean, no matter what I have ever created, since as far back as I can remember, there have been people that have loved it and hated it and everything in between, and that probably won't change.
So, what do you think of the album artwork, Caroline?
just having a look at it just now. Well, yeah, I mean, it's her big smile, isn't it? You know, I think it's very eye-catching. I'm just looking at, actually, this is the first time that I've looked at it properly, looking at there's actually words on there.
Yeah.
Call upon. Like, I mean, I knew there was words on there, but I'd never really read them before.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how you can have, like, you know, you can have an album for years, literally years, and you find something new about it when you're asked to look at it. I think it looks pretty eye-catching. She's got lovely white teeth, nice big smile, and it lulls you into a false sense of security, thinking, "No, this is no laughing album." Yeah. There is a lot of dark stuff on this.
Beware, angst ahead. Yeah.
But I think it's about the spoken word. I think that she's maybe tried to get across the theme of this album is about poetry, right? It's poetry, it's writing stories, it's spoken word almost put to some music sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think just by her having her mouth on that, it shows that she's a mouthpiece, I think, on this album. And I think that's the deeper meaning for me.
Awesome.
Like Trimming the Musical Fat, why not check out our other podcast, Trimming the Movie Fat?
So, which songs are going to be saying thank you as they make it onto the TTMF Supercut of Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie, and which are not going to be getting a seat in the front row as they hit the cutting room floor? It's time to create the TTMF Supercut of Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie. So for selection, we're including all 17 songs that featured on the original 1998 CD release of the album. So first of all, we're going to go through the songs that definitely make the cut, as at least 2 out of the 3 of us have selected them. So let's maybe start then with the unanimous choices, and unanimous choice 1 is Front Row, and let's hear a bit of it now.
I'm in the front row with popcorn. I get to see you close
up. So that was Front Row, which is the first track on the album. And a little fact for you, in a 2012 interview with fans, director Kevin Smith confirmed that Front Row was partially inspired by a phone conversation he and Morissette once had. They were mutually attracted to each other, but had never actually dated. His suggestion of naming the reasons they were not a couple became part of the lyrics. So we'll maybe start with you, Caroline. What do you think of Front Row? Obviously, one you picked.
I think for me, it was more about setting the tone for the album as opposed to what the story was. So I didn't know that story. I mean, I knew what the song was kind of loosely trying to say.
Yeah.
I didn't know that specific story, but for me, it was about setting the tone of the album and what was going to follow. And I think it's the perfect album opener. It's just an influx of lyrics at the very, like, you know, the very beginning, the lyrics, the harmonies and the unison, and you're just hit with a wall of words. And that sets the tone for me for the rest of the album. And then it kind of gets to that chorus and it eases up and it opens out a bit. And then it's back to that kind of almost rapping.
Yep.
Almost rapping. Yeah.
Yeah, it kicks it off with a bang, and I think it just, as you say, it sets the stall out for what's to come in terms of the lyrical content and the musical styling of the album. It's kind of a minimalist chorus, really, isn't it? I mean, I agree with you. I really like it, and I love the end of the song where I don't know if it's a drum machine or something, but it's a kind of industrial type sound. And they're going to keep playing that for the last 4 or 5 seconds, which is pretty cool. So I do like that part to it.
Yeah.
Paul, what did you think of it as the new person to the album?
It's a really good opener. I think it's almost like saying, I've been away for 3 years, but I'm back, and front row. I almost think that front row like the first song, so it's the front of the album, and it's just a really good upbeat song. I always think it's good to have quite an upbeat song to start off an album. And like I say, the pressure on her after Jagged Little Pill must have been immense. So it's good that she's got that confidence to come in with a song like that as the opener.
Yeah, awesome. Well, talking of positive songs, let's move on to the second track that gets on to our supercut, and it was the first single from the album, and it's Thank You. And here it is.
Thank you, India. Thank you, terror. Thank you, disillusionment. Thank you, frailty. Thank you, consequence. Thank you, silence.
Okay, that was Thank You. And yeah, probably the most well-known song from the album. Was a single, got to number 5 here in the UK, number 17 in the US, and it was her 5th Canadian number 1. And of course, we mentioned it already, but there is that very famous video for the song where Alanis is walking around.
I've never seen it. I'll have to check it out now that you mentioned.
She's in the scud, Paul.
Just
She's in the
purely for
scud.
this podcast.
I want
Just
to ask,
purely
are
for
you
this
serious
podcast, I
about...
should check that out.
Are you've seriously never seen the video?
No.
Really? Oh well, she is nude, but
No. I would
conveniently
say thank you, though, if I'd saw it.
coming up.
Blurred out, isn't it? It's kind of blurred. It's like,
Yes.
yeah.
Her long hair covers
So not like an unedited
areas,
version,
and
no.
I believe only the production staff have that. Yeah. Apparently, well, I was doing a bit of research on this, and obviously, yeah, her hair covers her chest and just blurred around her genital areas. I can't think of a better expression, the way to describe it, but apparently...
Her lady bits.
Her lady bits.
Her lady bits.
Her lady bits are blurred. And apparently in the likes of some countries, India, for example, on MTV, they wanted further kind of blocking on the video before they would play it. So, yeah, that's what happened back then. So, yeah, for research, Paul, check it out.
I'm against censorship.
Didn't French and Saunders
They
also do a spoof
did
of
do a
it?
spoof of it.
I remember that.
Is
Yeah.
it? Yeah, yeah. I think it was Don
that was
French.
pretty good.
Don French, yeah.
I know you made it.
So you know you're famous when French and Saunders do a little parody of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I remember that one.
They done some brilliant parodies.
Yeah.
I remember their Star Wars Phantom Menace one. November Rain, Guns N' Roses, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, yeah.
I must look up the Alanis Morissette one. I do remember that. That was great. So yeah, thank you, Paul. Let's go to you first. So you would have been aware of this song because it was a single, yeah?
Yeah, it's catchy, commercial. It's saying I'm back. Obviously, the first single. That's what most people will hear before they hear the album. So yeah, good song. Not that different from the previous album style, but that was maybe a good way to get people to maybe get into our new stuff.
And Caroline, yeah, you're a big fan of this as well, aren't you?
It's just a beautifully put together song. I really like the instrumentation.
Yep.
It kind of just almost feels smooth. It feels like from that jaggy start to the album, right? You've got like Front Row hits you, and then the track that we didn't put on, which I won't repeat at the moment. And then you've got Thank You, just kind of like smooths it. It's got a nice melody. It flows really well. Obviously, dark subject matter there at the core of it all, but yeah, I think for me, I very much like her kind of more melodic pieces, and this really stuck out for me as a very, very strong first single to have.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when it came out, bought the CD single. It's one of my favourite tracks on the record, and I always remember with the CD single, it had the demo version of a song called Uninvited, which you remember Uninvited, Caroline, which is a great song. I think that was not on the Oh, it was on a Nicolas Cage movie. It was on the soundtrack for that. Angel.
Mhm.
Oh, I can't remember. City of Angels, maybe? I might be making that up.
Yeah,
City of
that's right.
Angels,
Yeah,
yeah.
could be.
That's
Yep,
a
yep,
brilliant
yep.
song, yeah. But yeah, I love it. Yeah, similar to what you guys said, positive vibes. I think a beautiful sentiment in the lyrics, about taking a breath and just being thankful for things. And great heavy drums on it as well, and
Yeah.
great heavy drums. And I like that tinkly little keyboard part that plays over the beginning and over the chorus. Yeah, just classic Alanis Morissette, really good track. Talking of really good tracks, let us move on to our next one, which is my favourite on the record, and that is the I Would Be Good, which we all picked. So let's hear a little bit of it. Okay, so that was I Would Be Good, and a couple of facts in relation to it. So this was performed on her MTV Unplugged show in 1999, and the live version from there was released as a single in Europe and Canada. And on the recorded version on the album, the constant electrical buzz that can be heard, especially at the beginning and throughout the track, came unintentionally from Glenn Ballard, who's the co-songwriter on this and Jagged Little Pill. And apparently his guitar was too close to the amplifier, so he re-recorded the guitar section to correct it, but Alanis Morissette then immediately noticed the change and said what happened to the original. Ballard told her that the buzz was bothering him, but she said, no way, we lost the magic, that buzz that was the song was getting from that feedback or that buzz, and you've got to put it back. So that's how it ends up in it, which is just cool because actually, for me, I always remember that song from the bzzz at the beginning of it. So yeah, I mean, I'll kick us off. It's my favourite song on the album, probably in my top 3 Alanis Morissette songs, and I remember it vividly because I was a huge Dawson's Creek fan. Remember Dawson's Creek from the 90s?
Yeah, Dawson's Creek.
I love Dawson's Creek, and they actually used the song very effectively in a couple of episodes, so I remember it clearly from that. And I love the flute solo during the song, which is played by Morissette herself, because she's a talented lady. So yeah, I love this song. Do you love it as well, Caroline?
I do. I didn't know about that buzz not being intentional, because I always thought with Alanis that most things would be super intentional. So that's kind of cool to hear that, and that's kind of sort of jogging my memory of. So I had gone to see Simple Minds a couple of weeks back at the Hydro, and I remember reading about the start of "Don't You Forget About Me." It was like hey, 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 hey. Apparently the hey, hey, heys was them in a sound check at the start of the recording of the song, and they went and decided to keep it in because they didn't actually have an intro for the song. So they just went and recorded Jim Kerr. He was doing his warm-up on the microphone, hey, 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 and they kept it in.
Brilliant.
And it's just all these little kind of freaky mistakes and accidents, that like actually end up being the really cool parts of the songs. For this song, it was quite a self-deprecating song. It kind of reminded me of Perfect. On Jagged Little Pill, it kind of reminded me of that kind of vein. She seems very vulnerable in this song.
Yeah.
And I was also super excited to hear her play flute because I didn't know that she could play flute. So that was another thing where I was like, oh, wow, she is just amazing. She can do anything.
And Paul, what do you like about this?
Yeah, a nice ballad. It's nice. There's a couple of the songs on the album that make me think of Remind me of Kate Bush or Tori Amos.
Funny you should mention Kate Bush and Tori Amos, because there's two other female vocalists who have a very distinct vocal style, where if they come on the radio, it's them. Yeah, so it's a good shout. I have to say, I think this is an amazing song. I probably have a preference for the unplugged version from the 1999 album. I cannot believe. Well, she plays the flute live, and obviously she sings it live. And I think her vocal on the unplugged is sensational. It's live, and it's like it's recorded. It's perfect, absolutely pitch perfect.
I've got that album on vinyl as well, and I think didn't she put a couple of bonus tracks on that as well that went on the original? So
that's right.
Yeah, I absolutely loved the Unplugged album. Actually, God, that's taking me back. That's taking me way back. Yeah.
1999. That was the first CD my wife ever bought me.
There you go.
I think she bought. Not long after we first
Not Shaking Stevens' greatest hits.
There you go.
She knows you well, clearly.
That was the key.
Yeah.
That was the key. No, it wasn't. That was the key to get me to marry her. That's it. Bye, Alanis.
That was it. That was it.
Lucky woman. So, there we are. 3 tracks in, and that gets on. And another unanimous choice is One, and here it is. So that was One, which is track 11 on the original album, and another co-write with Glenn Ballard. So, I'm going to come to you first, Caroline. What do you like about One?
Again, it's that, just the honesty, the brutal honesty that she starts off the song. I'm sure it goes, I am the biggest hypocrite. Like, come on. Like, she is just ripping that plaster right off, saying how she feels. Boom, the song just cuts deep. It's just another smashing sort of lyrical journey it takes you on. And I know that most songs are designed to take you on lyrical journeys, they're supposed to. But this one just kind of, it just really feels very, very vulnerable. And then I think there was a wee bit, the way the song goes into the chorus when she's singing One, for me it sounds a wee bit like Susie and the Banshees. There was a song they did for a film called Batman Returns, and it was called Face to Face.
Face to Face,
and it's got similar instrumentation in the middle of that song that I thought, that sounds a wee bit like the instrumentation for that.
It does.
I thought she must be influenced by them in some way. It was very, very cool. I could join the dots a little bit. Yeah. It was a great song.
Face to Face is a great song. Yeah, Face to Face. Oh, there were karaoke now. I know.
We were talking about that last week in the Batman podcast.
Yeah, bizarrely enough, we were doing Batman Returns movie episode last week, and we were talking about Face to Face with Julie.
Really? I did not know that, because I remember it being one of the first movies I went to the cinema to watch, because I was quite young when that was out. I must have been in my early teens. Very early teens.
The most warped summer blockbuster ever.
Yeah, that was the one with Catwoman in it, wasn't it? It was Michelle Pfeiffer.
She was
just
brilliant.
The soundtrack was just, she was brilliant in that role.
Danny Elfman.
She was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, great Danny Elfman.
What's the bit at the end?
It's bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, the bit at the end of the song, it's quite hard to do. It's almost like Kate Bush herself. Oh no!
Really?
It's exactly like that, Paul. Exactly like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, Caroline, are you sure you can't find an extra track for Paul's harmonies?
We'll put it in the mix.
Look what you're missing out on. Surely you need to be doing a cover now of Face to Face with Paul. Do you reckon?
Oh, don't even.
Oh, now I tell you, there's an idea. Imagine you and Marissa doing a cover of Face to
That'd be a
Face
great
now.
song, wouldn't it? Be really
That
good.
would be
Yeah.
awesome.
She'd
Yeah,
be Catwoman though.
giving
I'd
you
be the
ideas
Penguin.
here.
She'd be Catwoman.
Yeah, yeah, you get your outfits. I tell you, that would be a social media hit.
Wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
imagine. It would as well. It would as well. I think that's a great idea. You should
Put that
get
on
on
the list.
that.
I'll put that on the list.
Oh, definitely.
This
But
is quite
yeah, Paul, what do you
it's a
think of
ballad,
it?
isn't? I know. I'm thinking about Batman now.
He's thinking about Batman now. He's lost the plot.
He's away now.
Although
yes,
quite vulnerable, I think she's brave because like she's going into really deep stuff, but she's still coming out of it almost like stronger for it. So it's not just leaving. I don't know. Sometimes you could have a song like that, and it's really deep and it leaves you down. But she always seems to like come back up stronger for having those experiences. And I think that's maybe the big thing for me with this album, because even though a lot of it's really quite deep, she'll then say thank you. It's almost like there's gratitude, and there's like humor as well. So it's almost like she's quite resilient, and I think that's what comes through in the album.
I thought this had a similar vibe to The Couch. And it's quite a simple arrangement with the piano and strings and a kind of melancholic mood, which kind of complements the introspective lyrics. I was kind of half disappointed when I first heard the album. For some reason, I was expecting a cover of U2's one.
Oh, right, okay.
I thought, oh, this could be interesting. Oh no, it's not that one.
Or Metallica.
Yeah, that would be something. That would be different entirely. So there we are. One gets on, and our last unanimous choice is Joining You, and here it is. Alrighty, so that was Joining You, and a couple of facts in relation to it. So this was released as the second single from the album, and it got to number 28 here in the UK. And there was footage shot for a video for the song, but it was never completed as Morissette felt the visuals did not work with the song, which may explain the kind of relatively low chart position. So, Paul, let's come to you first. What do you think about Joining You?
This sounded like a sort of mid-90s, just quite commercial, and it sounded quite different from the rest of the album. But I can see why it was a single as well, because it's got that catchy hook in it. I didn't know it was a single, but no, it's a good song. Not as good as Face to Face, but.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all about the chorus. Well, maybe not, but no, it's all about the chorus for me with this song. Great sing-along, rock sing-along one, and there's a really good live version on the MTV Unplugged album as well. So, yeah, one of your favourites, Caroline?
Definitely. I'm just having a look at the lyrics here, just on my phone, just to remind myself of it, because I remember, again, it's one of those like songs where you get pulled in at the beginning. She's telling a story about a situation, you're pulled in, and then she gets to that massive chorus, and I think it's just about her trying to empathize or trying to tell someone, look, you know, everyone feels the same things and we all go through the same stuff, and you know, I understand. So there's obviously a story about a friend or a friend's daughter or someone that she's talking to say, look, I get it, you know, and if we were there, then we'd be feeling the same and I'd be joining you. So it's yeah, I think it's a really very, very clever song in the way that she's put the lyrics together, but still able to put a radio-friendly chorus in there.
Yep. With you on that one. So, yep, that gets on. So that is our 5th song that's got on to the Supercut.
Hey everyone out there in the podcasting world, this is Widescreen. This is Sam Wiles. You are listening to another episode of the Trimming the Musical Fat podcast.
So let's look at track 6. And this is where I think just you and me picked this one, Caroline. And it is, Are You Still Mad? And the answer is yes. But let's play it anyway.
Are you still mad? I didn't trust your intentions. Of course you are. Of course you are. Of course you are. Of course you are.
So yeah, Are You Still Mad? So this was a song written solely by Morissette, so not a co-write with Glenn Ballard. So yeah, you like it, I like it, Caroline. What do you like about it?
I like it because she's obviously upset someone, an ex, because she's overshared the problems of their relationship. So, you know, I think there's a particular line, or a couple of lines saying, you know, are you still mad I kicked you out of bed? And, you know, are you still mad that I shared our problems with everybody? It's, you know, obviously one of those relationships that's so up and down, and she's been telling her friends about it, you know, all the detail of this relationship, and that person's pretty mad about it. You know, it's private. Some things are private and shouldn't be shared, but, you know, I mean, I suppose we're all going through phases in life when we're grown up that we overshare or we say a little bit too much, you know, so...
Yeah, I mean, again, off the top of my head, I think, are you still mad I mothered you? Are you still mad had one foot out the door? Are you still mad I wore the trousers in the relationship?
You're still mad I had an emotional affair. It's like, you know, she's basically laying bare an entire relationship.
Yeah, but which is why I think it's one of the best songs on the record for me, because I mean it is telling the story about a bitter breakup, and I just love the venom in the line of, you know, of course you are, you know, the way that's treated, of course you are, and I love it when the cellos come to the fore about halfway through the song, and again towards the end really give it some impact. And I think the whole song though has a bit of a epic Eastern influence sound, which I know was a lot to do with her. You know, I think she went off on trips to the likes of India and so on. I know a lot of the music on it is and lyrics are influenced by that trip. But yeah, there certainly has that kind of feel to it.
I think that Eastern sound that you're referring to as well, in terms of the arrangement, that's a theme that still impacts her music to this day. You hear that kind of Eastern influence, little hooks of little songs, little guitar riffs that come in. But with this song in particular, it was all about the cello and just that proper cinematic, epic Eastern sound under it all. I just think it's a very, very, very clever song.
Yep, great production.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so Are You Still Mad gets on, as does a song we've talked a little bit about already, which again you and me picked, Caroline, and that is The Couch. So here's a little bit of it.
You reminded her so much of your father, so you were banished, and you wonder why you're so hypersensitive and why you can't trust anyone but us. But then how can I begin to forgive her so many years under bridges with dirty water? She was foolish and selfish and cowardly, if you ask
So The Couch gets on. It is the 5th song on the album. And yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about it already. I mean, what's your take on the song lyrically, Caroline? Is it Alanis on the psychologistic couch, or is she the psychologist, or what's your take on it?
It could be either or. There's that whole vibe to it. I think for me, this was like such a heavy song, and you were hanging on every word. This is just a proper monologue accompanied by music, and I'd never heard anything like this ever until I heard this song.
Yeah.
And it really struck a chord with me. And it was taking you through a therapy session, essentially, or a series of therapy sessions where there's little glimpses of hope and understanding and realization, but it's all very dark. And I think, as I said before, the music on this one, although it's a kind of, it sits in the background, but if you really deconstruct it, it is so integral to the vibe and the energy of that song, the way it builds with where the story builds as well.
Yeah,
I love it. I
think
absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's a great tune. Again, I think the back into it wears its kind of Eastern music influence on its sleeve again. Just the rhythm patterns and such like on it very much come to the fore. So yeah, The Couch gets on.
Yeah. Now I want to ask you, of course, about your new album after the gargantuan success of your last one. Is it really true that you were thinking of giving up making another record entirely?
There was a period of time where I contemplated not doing it again. I hadn't really processed all of what had gone on during the tour for Jagged Little Pill, and I think I needed to do that before I jumped in again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you went to India, and you said that you were still, for the first time probably in your life.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know how you sort of bring that stillness back and keep it within you now that tour madness is starting, and, you know, with the album out and so forth. How do you do it?
It's a challenge, definitely. Whenever I feel myself getting in sort of too kinetic, I just stop again, and I just bring it in, and I pace myself much more so now than ever before, and say no a little more often and say yes to a little more often too, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the next one, which is getting on, would be helpful if I actually had it on here. Oh, there we are. Well, it's You Are, or You're, whatever way you want. It's, I think in the context of the song, it's You Are. So you and me, we're again the ones that picked that one. Paul, you're not getting much of a look in here at this point. So we picked You Are, and let's hear a bit of it. Alrighty, so You Are. So if I think something I picked up on, if you're looking for a really noticeable live performance of You Are, there is a recorded performance as part of the live in the Navajo Nation, which is available on YouTube. So basically, it's like a video for the song. It's quite surreal, but yeah, great. Check it out. I think. Again, doing a bit of research, that performance is well regarded among fans because it is done in quite a unique setting. And for me, this song, it actually feels a wee bit more light-hearted than most of what's come before on the album. It's more of a simple acoustic track, maybe a bit less angsty, and it's one of those songs that could very well have fitted on Jagged Little Pill. No problem at all. You've also got Alanis playing the harmonica on it, which recalls One Hand in My Pocket from the previous album. And I'm actually really surprised this wasn't released as a single because it is very, very commercial and upbeat, and you can very easily hear it being played on the radio. So again, I don't know, was that maybe a conscious thing to steer away from songs that sounded like something from Jagged Little Pill as singles, and I don't know. But yeah, what do you like about this one, Caroline?
I wonder if it was meant for Jagged Little Pill but didn't make the cut. Because thinking back to Jagged Little Pill, there's so many strong songs and strong singles that it was probably going to get lost amongst all that. And it really stands out on this album for exactly the reason you're saying. It's very radio friendly. It's very Alanis, Jagged Little Pill era. And maybe she felt quite strongly about it, thinking it has to make its way onto some album. Let's just put it on this one. I don't know. I could be entirely wrong, but it doesn't feel like it fits on this album. It feels like it fits on Jagged Little Pill to me. So,
agree.
Yeah. But it was nice. It's nice and light. It gives you that kind of a bit of a lift, because the album gets quite heavy and quite dark. So you need a little bit of light.
Yeah, a bit of like light welcome relief for me. So yeah, I like it. I like it being on here. All right, and the next one, which is getting on, and again, it was one that me and you picked, Caroline, is another single, and it is Unsent. And dare I say, it's maybe a strange choice as a single. So let's hear a bit.
Dear Matthew, I like you a lot. I realize you're in a relationship with someone right now, and I respect that. I'd like you to know that if you're ever single in the future and you want to come visit me in California, I would be open to spending time with you and finding out how old you were when you wrote your first song.
So okay, that was Unsent. So that was released as the album's first single in March 1999. It got to number 58 in the US and number 8 in Canada. And Morissette herself directed the music video for it. And there is a demo version for the song, which includes lyrics about Morissette's former touring drummer, Taylor Hawkins, of the Foo Fighters, who passed away a couple of years back. But I've not heard the demo version. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange song, isn't this one, Caroline? Because it's essentially she sat down for and she'd written letters to people she knew or cared about, I think family or friends or boyfriends or ex-boyfriends, and she's basically taken snippets from each of those letters and put them to a song, very much like a monologue, which makes it it's actually one of my favourite tracks on the record because it is really unconventional. There's not really a chorus or a hook on this track at all. Again, it's another which is perhaps a bit more acoustic and upbeat as well. And I do remember, I think, from research, she actually does name check the people that she's referencing in these letters. And she did reach out to each of those people to say, here's what I'm recording, here's what I'm going to say. Are you okay with that? So she felt happy to release it because she'd got the blessing from each of the people that are name checked and talked about in the song, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, very unconventional, but I think it's a great tune. Yeah, you a fan of it?
100% for all of the reasons that you just say. And again, I'd never really heard anyone do that kind of style before. Like, she was clearly just writing to everyone, exactly like you say there. And I'm glad that she got the permission. I wouldn't have thought she would be the type to go off and ask to do that before putting it out. But she obviously gets on really well with these people and so didn't want to kind of cause any issues. So that, like, shows a level of courtesy, which I think was quite nice to do that. But a great song. Again, you get invested in each of the relationships, that each person brought something to her life in some way. And it's just about life in general, right? If you've gone through certain relationships that haven't lasted for whatever reason, but you've still actually learnt a lesson from each one. as you've gone along. And you gave me this, you gave me that. And it's about getting to that point of you take all those lessons and all those good points about the people you've been with until you find the person you truly want to be with, who can kind of tick a lot of those boxes, maybe not all of them, but can tick a lot of those boxes that's enough for you. So, yeah, I find that quite insightful.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you're one of the people name checked, you'd be quite touched to be featured in a song.
Absolutely,
like that.
because you've actually had some sort of impression on someone's life. So
yeah, no, which is amazing. So Paul, any reason you didn't go for this one? Just not your cup of tea?
It was just kind of more of the same, really. Nothing really jumped out at me.
Okay. Well, one of the tracks that did jump out at you, because you picked it and so did I, so it makes it on. This is track 10 for the Supercut is Baba. And here is Baba right now. So there we go, that was Baba, and I'll give you a couple of facts in relation to it. Excuse me. So most of the shows during the Junkie era opened with the song, and it was featured as an opener also during her 2002 tours as well. And though Baba opened Morissette's performance on the television show MTV Unplugged in 1999, it was excluded from the CD release Alanis Unplugged, which is quite interesting. So, what do you like about this one, Paul?
I like, because it would open her as well, so I can understand that being a set opener. I like it because it's quite rocky, the guitar in it, maybe a wee bit like a theme for a movie or something. And I don't know if is the Baba supposed to be like Baba O'Reilly that the Who did? Is it like some, because I know that's some mysticism or something. No, it's nothing to do with that, no.
No, it is about, it's I feel like a spiritual pilgrimage she took to India, and, or the song's narrated anyway, about going to India and meeting a Baba who is, it's not Hindu for
yeah, I think it
spiritual
is
leader or something like that.
I'm sure Baba O'Reilly, the Who song, it was something
serves.
similar. Don't know if it's the same Baba, but it was just with that name. It's quite an unusual name, and I know that's how they came up with it. I wonder if there's some connection there, some spirituality.
Yeah.
But no, a good song.
Yeah.
I'm just having a look at the lyrics though, and I'm wondering if I'm just having a look at the lyrics here, and it's like she's kind of almost trying to question this kind of hero worship of idols, So some of the lyrics, it says, "How long will this take?" And then there's, "How soon will I be holy? How much will this cost, Guru? How much longer till you completely absolve me?" Like she's maybe seeing through some of these spiritual icons, thinking, what's at the root of all this for you? Were you getting paid? Or what you getting from this kind of transaction with all your followers, And it's actually interesting when you force yourself to look at the lyrics properly and read them, you think, she's actually maybe questioning this.
A bit like the Beatles with the Maharishi,
false idols.
That they were questioning him towards the end. Like, kind of like you think you know everything. Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, quite rightly so. Okay, yeah, well, for me, good lyrics, good rock track, and I like the chorus. So yeah, it gets on, and the final track that gets on is again one me and Paul picked, which is Heart of the House. And I couldn't believe Caroline didn't pick this. I'm going to pick her brains as to why in a moment, but here's a bit of Heart of the House. So, Heart of the House, yeah, another one of the few songs on the album written purely by Morissette. And for me, this is actually one of my favourite tracks on the record. And it's kind of got a Paul McCartney, Beatles White Album feel or vibe to it. It's quite a heartfelt tune, no pun intended. So yeah, I'm a big fan of it. Caroline, why did you not pick this for the track listing?
I just felt it was a bit more rambly, whimsical, rambly. It wasn't as laser focused for me as some of the other subject matter. It was all just swirling around, lyrics swirling around, not going anywhere. In terms of the instrumentation, she's obviously singing it in a different kind of register as well. She's up the octave with a lot of this. And I just felt it didn't do it for me. It didn't have an edge to it. It didn't have a direction.
Yeah.
That's it, basically. It didn't float my boat. It was a little bit too whimsical and floaty.
A bit too maudlin.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm a sucker for that, so... That's why I had to have it on. Yeah. So, Paul, we'll come back to you. What do you think of Heart of the House?
It's a really hidden gem that I'd never heard before. It's probably my favourite Alanis Morissette song. I just think it's a lovely ballad, like you're saying. It's sort of a bit like Blackbird, the finger picking style, and sort of 50s and 60s in there. So, but just a lovely ballad. And I think I like her ballads best.
And for our final rule tonight, it's time for another edition of one of our favorite departments here on Real Time, explaining jokes to idiots.
It's time for Joke of the Pod, and Paul, you have one for us.
Alanis Morissette has a new song about attraction between charged particles. Isn't it ionic?
Oh, dear. Okay. So yeah, let's reveal the songs that missed out on a spot on the Supercut, because they either got no votes or only one. So we had Sympathetic Character, which Paul went for, Would Not Come, which was another one from Paul. Your Congratulations, which none of us selected. So Pure, which I did, and Caroline selected I Was Hoping and Can't Not. So those did not make it. Any songs in there, guys, that you're deeply offended that they're not getting on the Supercut?
I was expecting you guys to be angry we didn't put So Pure on it. But
good chorus.
Good chorus, but I thought it was quite, I don't know, a little bit sugary.
Yeah, it's. I mean, for me, that's the thing I remember about it. Just the chorus, which is really cool. But the rest of it, I could take it or leave it. Yeah. Okay, let's reveal the final supercut of Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie. So we have Front Row, Baba, Thank You, Are You Still Mad, The Eye Would Be Good, The Couch, You Are, One, Unsent, Joining You, and Heart of the House. So we have created an 11-track album coming in at 47 minutes, which will fit very comfortably onto a single vinyl record. So, Caroline, how would you rate the Supercut? So you had the original a 5. Are you sticking with a 5, or?
I'm sticking with the 5. Yeah.
Okay. Paul, I think you were 2.5 or so earlier on. Is it going up the way, so to speak?
Yes, it's got 3. It's gone up to a 3.
Up to a 3. Happy days. Do you know what? I am going to change mine from 4.5 to a 5. I think that is an absolutely fantastic record there. So in terms of do we prefer the Supercut or the original? Well, I prefer the Supercut we've done. Paul, you obviously do. Caroline, are you taking the Supercut or are you sticking with your original 17-track album?
Oh, do you know, I think I have to take the original 17-track album, warts and all. I think you need all those other ones that kind of make you feel uncomfortable or you're not quite keen on to then appreciate the next track. So, yeah.
Yep, even Your Congratulations.
Even that one, yeah.
Yeah, strange closer to the album, isn't it? They shouldn't pick a stronger track to finish the album. A bit of a strange choice. Or perhaps putting the weirdest song on the album last might be the wisest thing to do, I don't know.
She likes to push buttons though, doesn't she? So I think she wanted to do something a wee bit unexpected to end the album.
Yeah.
Just to mess us up a bit, you know?
That is true. So if you want to listen to the TTMF Supercut of Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie on Spotify, join our Facebook group where we'll share the link along with each of our own playlists. It's time for the final questions. So, we've got 2 questions for you guys, and the first one we kind of started talking about earlier on, and that is, why do you think this album sold significantly less than its predecessor? So, Caroline, let me come to you.
I think because it was too long, and I think because the not as many radio-friendly, catchy pop tunes. Simple as that, it just wasn't commercial enough.
You're the same, Paul?
I think similar title doesn't help it. I think it's a really pure album title. I think it's a really pure title for an album.
Yeah, never thought of that.
I think it just, I don't know, with it being long and, I don't know, I think that, for me, that maybe plays a small part. I don't know. The title, it's just and I'm aware that I'm from now, but I guess at the time you'd be used to it. But for me, it's just, I think the album title kind of is pretty crap, and I don't know if that influences it somewhat. But it's a good album. It is a good album, but not a very good album title.
Okay. I mean, I kind of agree with elements of what you've both said there. I think the kicker is the singles, I mean, you view the singles as your trailers, don't you? Your promo for your album. And really, other than Thank You, the other singles didn't catch fire at all. Mm-hmm. Whereas we can think of the singles from Jagged Little Pill, which you still hear on all of them, you still hear on the radio, getting heavy rotation. Whereas the only one from this that you tend to hear is Thank You. So I think that those singles gave Jagged Little Pill legs. It was a really high seller for years and years, and this album didn't have that impact because the singles just weren't as commercial. And some of the choices were maybe a bit strange for singles as well. There was maybe more commercial songs on the album that she chose not to release, or the record company didn't want to. So, and the final question is, according to Ranker, I have to say, careful how I say that, Ranker with an R.
Why were you looking at me when you were saying that?
Oh, that was just coincidental. What is Alanis Morissette's greatest song? So, Caroline, I'll let you guess first. What do you reckon they thought was her best song?
Her best song.
Or what was voted, I should say. So, voted for by people, yeah.
I think it's going to be a toss-up between One Hand in My Pocket and Ironic.
Okay.
I'll go for Ironic.
Ironic, okay. Paul, what do you...
You ought to know.
It's easy for you to say. Okay.
I think it's Face to Face.
Right, let me... Face to Face, yeah. Susie and the Banshees. Right, let me give you the top 10 then. If my computer... Right, here we go. Okay, so number 10 was Precious Illusions. 9 was Head Over Feet. Number 8 was All I Really Want. 7 was Hands Clean. 6 was Ironic. Number 5 was Hand in My Pocket. Number 4 was Thank You. Number 3, Uninvited. And number 2 was You Learn.
Oh, yeah.
And number 1 was You Oughta Know.
There you go, Paul. Spot on.
There you go.
Well done. Well done. You win the prize, Paul.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Well done. So yeah, You Oughta Know was ranked the best there. Okay, so You Ought to Know. What a great link. You ought to know that it's time for us to go. So, we'd just like to thank Caroline for coming to play with us again after a couple of years. So, it's great to get your input on an artist I know you have great fondness for. So, it's great to get your opinions today on Alanis and on this particular...
I was saying it's a pleasure to have been on, and I really did enjoy this episode because this is one of my favourite albums as well, so thank you for having me.
Awesome. Not at all. Absolutely, the pleasure was all ours. So, thanks to you for listening, and until next time, keep trimming.
Trimming the Musical Fat podcast is a Stephen and Paul Nicholson production. Contact us via voicemail by going to anchor.fm/TTMF/message, or tweet us at Musical Trimming, or email us at trimmingthemusicfat@gmail.com. Keep up to date on the show by joining our Facebook group or visiting our website www.trimmingthemusicalfat.com.